Begin today at the Mishnah on Daf Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph. Zok Heilige Mishnah. Continuing the halachas regarding the Edison, the Nedarim Orasa, the father and the husband together are the ones that could nullify the Nedarim that she makes. There's various halachas of how this plays out. So this Mishnah says as a Nadra V'hi Arusa. She made a neder while she's in Arusa, the first stage of marriage. But then is Garsha Boy Bayayim. On that same day that she made the neder, she got divorced, and nisarsa b'yayim, and she got remarried on that very same day to someone else. So now the question is, those nedarim that she made before, does the new husband also now get the rights from the first husband to participate together with the father in nullifying those nedarim? The father has his part in nullifying the neder, but the second part, which belongs to the husband, so now that the first husband divorced, what happens now? Does it go to the second husband? So the Mishnah says it does, and the Mishnah adds, Afila Lemeya, even if she theoretically got married to a second husband, a third husband, up to 100 different people on that day, Avia ubayla ha'achren mefirin nederah. The father and the second husband, or the last husband, together nullify her nedarim. So basically, the next husband gets the rights from the first husband. Now, when does this apply? So the rule here is as follows. If she didn't go out into her own possession for one moment, what does that mean, to her own possession for one moment? So the Ran says she didn't become a begeres. She became a begeres, so then she goes out into her own rishus. Okay, so once she goes into her own rishus, she became a begeres, or she got married completely, not just Edison, she completely got married. So, but if she did not go out into her own rishus, so then it remains Avia ubayla, her father, and the husband, Abayla ha'achran, that is the last husband, mefir nederah, together could be made for the nedarim that she made before. But once she goes into her own, once she got fully married, so then the next husband is not gonna have the koyach to be made for the previous nedarim that were made from before, right? The nedarim that she makes now, he could be made for, but the nedarim that she made from before, he will not be able to be made for anymore. Zok the Gemara.
Even the same day?
Yeah, correct. Oh, the Gemara now is here, is going to say something, focusing on this that the Mishnah Taka said. Boy bayam. Let's see. Zok the Gemara. Minol on the aris achrain made for nedarim. So from where do I know this halacha that the second husband could come and nullify the nedarim sheniru la'aris rishen? And the chiddush here, that the way the Gemara understands our Mishnah is, including the nedarim that the first aris knew about. And the first aris, the first husband, had the opportunity to be made for them, and he wasn't made for them. In other words, what the Gemara is saying is, maybe we should say that only those nedarim that she made before, when she was married to the first husband, and the first husband never heard about it, and now she gets divorced and she marries the second husband, so then I say that the second husband could be made for those nedarim. But those nedarim that the first husband knew about, and he was not made for them, and he divorces her, and she gets married to someone else, maybe those nedarim she cannot, the second husband cannot be made for. How do you know that even those nedarim that the first husband knew about, the second one could also be made for? So the Ran actually says that in the lashon of the Mishnah itself, it's not clear that this is the din. The Mishnah says, what happened? Nizgarsha boy bayayim. She got divorced on that very day. Why does the Mishnah say boy bayayim? What's the relevance of Bay Bayayim? If the husband never heard of the neder, so then it makes no difference of Bay Bayayim. The whole concept of Bay Bayayim when it comes to nullifying the nedarim is when the day you heard about the neder. So then you only have that day to nullify it. So if the Mishnah says Bay Bayayim, it sounds like we're talking about that the husband heard the neder. But the Ran says not necessarily. Maybe the Mishnah is saying Bay Bayayim regarding the father, because the father as well could only be made for the neder on that very day. After the day, then that's it. Either way, it's too late to be made for this neder. So even though the Mishnah uses the lashon bay bayayim, not necessarily doesn't mean that the husband heard about this neder, and now the second husband is going to be made for the neder. Maybe the Mishnah is saying only when the first husband never heard about the neder, then the second husband could be made for it. But the Gemara here is being machadish, and the Ran says this is really all Shmuel speaking, as the Gemara here continues. Amma Shmuel, this is all Shmuel saying minalon that the pshat in our Mishnah is, even if the first husband heard about the neder, the second husband could be made for it. From where do I know this? Amakra, so the Gemara says, the pasuk says, when it speaks about a husband being made for the nedarim of his wife that's an arusa, as we brought before, that's what this pasuk is speaking about. She gets married. She has nedarim upon herself. Why does it have to say this word aleha? Nedareha aleha. It's an extra word. This means nedarim shahayu aleha kvar. That means even the nedarim that she had already before from a previous husband, the second husband could also be mefer. That's what the extra word is coming to teach me. But the Gemara asks on this, how do you know that that's what it goes on? That the previous husband actually heard about it, and still now the second husband gets the rights to be made for that neder, even though the first husband heard about it and he was not made for it. Dilme, maybe maybe only those nedarim that the first husband never heard about. That's the nedarim that the second husband could be made for. The nedarim that the first husband heard about, the second husband will not be able to be made for. So the Gemara says, no, you can't say that, because aleha kra yiseiruhu. This word aleha is still an extra word to teach me that even when the first husband heard about it. What does that mean? If you look inside the pasuk there, you have it here quoted on the side of the Gemara. The full pasuk over there, it says, asher osra al nafsha. So it already says in the pasuk, asher osra al nafsha, they're going on the nedarim that were made before. The fact that a person, the oris, could be made for those nedarim that she made before, when the previous husband did not hear about it, that would be understood from the pasuk even without the word aleha. Why does it add the word aleha? Aleha means even those nedarim that the first husband did hear about, the second husband could be made for them. That's so. Therefore, this is the source of this halacha. So the Gemara now brings a raya.
Using the same words to do the two. There's two issues over here. There's one issue that the old husband heard, the new husband. But the Nedarim Allah is for the old husband.
Nedarim Allah is talking about the husband that's married to her now. When she's the second husband, whoever she's married to now, is the one that can be made for the Nedarim. The Chiddush here is, even those Nedarim that the previous husband heard about, nevertheless, the second husband gets the power to be made for them as well. And that aleha means they were upon her. Aleha means it was upon her before in the previous marriage, and the first husband heard about it. Because it's an extra word, we say it's coming to say not only it was upon her before, but it was upon her before, and there was an awareness of this matter. The husband was aware about it, and still the second husband could be made for it. Okay, no, it could be. The Gemara brings now a raya from a brayse. Since, as I said before, the Mishnah itself is not clear, Shmuel is bringing a raya from a pasuk, but the Mishnah itself did not say this halacha clearly, so the Gemara brings from a brayse where it says this clearly. So Tanya Kvasei de Shmuel, we'll learn it in a brayse where we'll see, like Shmuel said, that it's speaking about a case where the first husband knew about those nedarim. So it says in the Mishnah, in the brayse, Nara meirasa, in this case of a Nara meirasa, Avio Baila Mefin Nedareh, the father and the husband together nullify nedarim. Keitzad, what's the example for this? Shama via, the father heard about the neder. V'hafala, and the father did his part. He nullified his neder. V'leihispek abala shmoya, and the father didn't even hear about the neder at all at shemeis, and he died. And v'nis arsa boy bayim, and she got married to someone else on that day. V'afila meya pamim, even if she got remarried to someone else 100 times. Avia ubayla ha'achrei mefira nederah. The father and the next husband can nullify her neder. So this is the halacha that our Mishnah said when the father and the last husband are going to nullify the neder. But here, in the first part of the brayse, it clearly says that the case is that the first husband didn't hear about the neder. But now, in the next case of the brayse, the case clearly is, even in a case where the husband did hear, the first husband did hear about the neder. Shama baila, in the case where the first husband heard about the neder, v'hafrla, and the first husband nullified the neder. And the father did not hear about the nedarim until the husband passed away. So here the case is the husband did his part. He was made for the neder. The father didn't hear about the neder, and now the husband passed away. And what happened over here? So all the Rishonim here basically say that this part of the brayse is a continuation of the previous part of the brayse. So just like in the previous case in the brayse, it says that the case here is that she went and got remarried to someone else. Here as well, the case is that she went and got remarried to someone else. So what's the halacha? Chayzer ha'av u'meifer chelkoi shel bal. So the father now could go and nullify the chelik of the neder that the Baal was Mefer. When the Baal was Mefer, his part of the neder, but he now passed away. So once the Baal passes away, the chelik of the neder that the Baal was mefer is null and void. That hafara doesn't exist anymore because he passed away. When a person passes away, whatever hafara he does also is null and void. That hafara only stays in effect as long as he's alive. If he passes away on that day, so then his hafara is nothing. So now the father is the one that could be mefer the neder completely. And the case over here is even though she got remarried to a second husband. So you would think that the second husband is the one that gets the rights from the first husband to be mefer the neder, but no, it doesn't work that way. The father is the one that could do the hafara completely on his own. Okay. Now on this, the Gemara says, so Legabi, what the Gemara said before, here you see clearly we're talking about a case that the husband heard about the neder. Okay. But now the Gemara brings that this is actually a machlekes.
In a regular case, a husband and wife, and the husband may forgiven.
Yeah.
No, they're gestorben.
Yeah.
It comes zurück.
It got no, well. The hafara of the husband, the hafara of the husband is worthless. After the husband passes away, the hafara correct. Now the father is going to have to be made for the neder.
And there's no father. The wife is married for many years. She made a neder. And he's made for her, and he died. No,
but we're talking about an arusa over here. We're talking about an arusa. If he's could be. If she's nesua, I'm not sure. But over here we're talking about an arusa, and the husband's made for the neder, and then he dies. He dies by bayan. Correct. Yeah, that's the case. Yeah, correct.
Always.
Right. So he died. So now the hafara is also ice. So who's going to be made for the nedarim? For her, the father. So over here, again, like I said, over here the case is a little bit different. She got remarried to a second husband. Yeah, okay. Even though she got remarried to a second husband, still the Bryce is saying that the father is the one that's made for the neder completely. So on this, Rav Nosson says, Hein divrei Beis Shammai. This is only the opinion of Beis Shammai. Aval Beis Hillel laimrim, Beis Hillel say, Ein yachal lahafer. The father cannot be made for the neder by himself. But my pligi, so the Gemara explains, what's the basis of the machlokes of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? So the Gemara explains, Beis Shammai savri, Beis Shammai's opinion is, Nedarim nami, when it comes to these Nedarim here, and the Bachavir is Gairis, instead of Sharoi, Shaniru, whether Sharoi or Shaniru la'aros, that the first Aros heard about them. So what happens with these Nedarim? Nisraikena reshos la'av. Even though the first the husband heard about these nedarim and the first husband nullified these nedarim, what happens? Nevertheless, nisraikena reshos la'av, it gets emptied out into the reshus of the father. Umegiz gayis. Now this is based on the opinion of Beis Shammai that we learned about already before. Beis Shammai says, what happens when you have the father and the husband together that participate in nullifying the nedarim? The father nullifies his percent of the neder. 50% of the neder, he completely nullifies. The husband nullifies 50% completely of his part of the neder, right? That's how it works. So basically, in our case, what happened over here? The husband, when he was alive, heard about the neder, and he nullified his part of the neder. When he nullifies his part of the neder, that means that now, for the husband, this neder is out. For him, his part of the neder, he completely nullified it already. So that part of the neder, the first husband has no connection to that part of the neder anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. So now what happens when the husband dies? When the husband dies, his nullification is not a nullification anymore. Now the neder is back a full neder. But the thing is, the first husband, in his lifetime, when he was alive, totally nullified it. So the first husband had no shaykhs to the neder anymore. If so, the second husband will not get the rights to nullify his part of the neder from the first husband. Since the first husband already nullified the neder completely, so the first husband had no connection to his part of the neder anymore, what's the second husband going to get from the first husband? He has nothing to get from the first husband. So therefore, when the first husband dies, who's the only one that could nullify the nedarim? The father. Now the whole neder is completely active. Once the first husband passes away, the whole neder is totally active. But only the father could nullify this. That's the shitta of Beis Shammai.
So he has to nullify the second time, the father?
The father has to nullify. Well, the father didn't even hear about these nedarim at all until this point. So the father nullifies the neder alone. The father is the only one that has now the power to nullify this neder. Okay, let's see Beis Hillel. Maybe you'll see Beis Hillel, you'll understand even better. The contrast to Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel Savri, Beis Hillel says as follows. Avia u baila achrei mefir nedarah. In this case, when the first husband nullified his part, and then he passed away, and she got remarried to someone else. So now the father and the husband together are going to be made for nedarim. Why? Because v'loy megas gayis. The first husband, when he nullified his part of the neder, you can't say that this neder is not associated with the first husband anymore. Why not? Because the way Hillel understands the combination of the father and the husband nullifying the nedarim, each party, each one of them is just weakening the neder. You're not completely eradicating your part of the neder, you're weakening the neder. So even after the first husband did his part and nullified his part of the neder, what did he really do? He said that I'm going to weaken the neder. But even after he weakens the neder, the first husband still has a connection to this neder. Until the father is not going to do his part to fully get rid of the neder is in existence even in the world of the first husband. It's just a weakened neder. If the neder is still in existence in the world of the husband, even though it's a weakened neder, but it still exists, so when he dies, the second husband gets the rights from the first husband. So again, the point of here is, if that neder is still in existence for the first husband, so the second husband gets that rights from the first husband. But if the neder, if you say megas guy is that once the first husband nullified it, so now his part is not in existence anymore in his lifetime, so then the second husband has nothing to get from the first husband. Then it goes only to the father. That's the pshat in the machlekes of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. This is the first pshat in the Ran. Big arichas here in the Ran, as you see, this is the first pshat of the Ran. And the Ran brings another pshat, Taisvis, there's other pshat in here, and the Ran asks in it, but this is the simplest pshat in the Gemara, according to the Ran. Okay, we're going to stop over here. The Ibayil who goes down to the end of the next Talmud.